Hey guys, as you might know, this podcast is available in audio format on your favorite podcast player, but also in video. So you can watch this with video on Spotify and on YouTube. And I've never recommended more to watch an episode with video than this one. Why that? Look at this. This is the location I'm allowed to record in today. It's the salon of an ancient castle in Schweinfurt in Germany, and the family Dams. So thank you very much to Alex, Jürgen, and Luca. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being part of it. And thank you so much for allowing me to record my episode in this very special room. I've been here a couple of months ago when I first recorded my episode with Luca. It was, I guess, episode 87. Luca Dams, the owner of Senso Wine, the alcohol-free brand, and we took the picture for the thumbnail in here with those amazing chairs in the background, so the late 19th century chairs. It's super weird, but super beautiful and at the same time. If you might ask, what is he talking about? Why is he in Schweinfurt in Germany, in Franken? I was part of the first alcohol-free wine fest on Thursday. It was a huge success. 500 people came to party without any drop of alcohol. I guess if it wouldn't have turned quite cold in the end, 10:30, 11 p.m., I mean, it's still May, people would have stayed way longer. And we proved that you can dance, you can party, you can have fun, you can just relax and enjoy social gathering without a drop of alcohol. Super interesting. Tonight is the normal wine fest for the whole weekend. The family, the winery is quite famous for that. But yeah, in the end, I'm quite happy to be able to record my podcast right in between those wine fests to give you the weekly update. On this week, we will talk about interesting stuff, quite weird stuff as well. The UK is thinking about introducing a bottle of wine in pint size. Do we need that? I don't think so. I don't know, but maybe we'll definitely have a critical look on that. We will talk about the current developments in Bordeaux on Primeur pricing, and we will have a short and brief look on the final agreement with Freixenet and the Spanish government. They found a solution. We will talk about wine fraud in China, and we will talk about the hottest April since the weather recordings have started and what this means for summer 2024. And yeah, just to give you a brief outlook, it's not about wine, it's about school. So enjoy the episode. Welcome to the Pinot Picture Podcast episode number 156, the weekly update on May 11th. We have many topics in front of us, so we start right into it. And we start with a topic that we have talked about in the last couple of weeks because it's quite a thing in the industry, Freixenet. Freixenet finally found a solution with the Spanish government how to deal with their temporary layoffs. If you haven't been part of that before, Freixenet and many other cava producers experienced a huge drought wave in the whole cava area, and due to this fact there is lower yields, less grapes available, and they tried to temporarily lay off their employees, at least 80%, so over 600 people, just at least for this year, and then we will see what will happen in the future. But they planned it for 2024, and the government said, no, you cannot do this just because you have problems with drought. In the end, they found a solution. They will send their employees in short work, meaning 20 to 50% part-time work, at least until the end of this year, 31st of December. And of course, combined, or let's say, oriented on how the drought is going. So if they discover, okay, there will be grapes available to harvest, or if it turns even worse, they will reconsider on changing the terms. So finally, there is a solution. 600 people will be able to keep their job, their occupation. Freixenet found a solution to, let's say, bring the company in a good and quite sustainable way through this quite difficult situation. And of course, this is also a blueprint for other companies working in the area. And Freixenet is quite a big one. So this also has this huge light tower appearance to the rest of the companies in the region. The second topic that we will shortly discuss, And just to give you a feeling on what the hell is going on in Bordeaux, we have been talking about, and the whole market has been talking about, Bordeaux and Primeur has to change. It's too expensive, and even though some wineries still claim, even though we are expensive, Burgundy is more expensive, we can raise the prices. No, you can't anymore, and they realize it right now. And even though 2023 is said to be a good vintage, some people would say a classic Bordeaux vintage, it's not the super high quality thing that is going on in 2023. So they have to lower the prices. And we talked about that quite briefly 2 weeks ago. Yeah, on the 29th of April, the campaign started with Chateau Bataille. And what we are seeing right now is that many Grand Cru wineries come to the market with prices that are way below the 2022 prices. And the record holder currently is Léoville Lascaz with 40%. 40% price drop compared to 2022. That is crazy. And I mean, if you have a look on the price development of the last, let's say, 5 years, starting with 2017, for example, there has been huge increases. So the 40% drops means it's at the level of probably 2019. I haven't checked that, but just the feeling would be it's vintage 2020 or 2019 probably. We will see others drop, but I would say the average will be around 25 price drop. We will have an extra episode on that, so I will leave it like this and reference to probably 157 or maybe 159. It depends on how the On Premier campaign will go and when let's say, we will be able to wrap it up. And there is currently not enough information available, so probably at the latest in mid-May. A next thing, and this is a news from Reuters. Very important topic and also a very sad topic, actually. We have talked about the current weather issues in Germany, in Poland, so it's basically in Central Europe, but there have been others all around the world, and we have seen the hottest April on the planet since the weather recordings. This happens due to the climate change and record-breaking temperature streaks. It's totally crazy. We talked about the drought in Freixenet. We talked about the drought in the cover area. We talked about the weird and unfortunate weather happenings that come along with climate change. So we have hail, we have late frost, we have floods, and we will see this more and more often over the next couple of years, over the next decades. Science prove that we as human beings are responsible for that, and we have to do something against it. This is not for clickbaiting or something. It's just to tell you it is happening, it is there, it's a huge concern, not only for the wine industry, but for every other industry as well. And if you're a fan of Chablis, there has been hail in Chablis. If you are a fan of wines from Rio Grande, they have seen catastrophic floods. So if you like Brazilian wine, there will be very few available this year. And this covers the whole planet. And just to put it on point, we have to do something against the development. We all can contribute our very small part to it. And one thing might be to think about or rethink the use of specific resources. And I mean, wine is a very big industry, and there is glass, there is plastic, there is cork, there's paper, and many things have been considered over the last couple of years and will be considered over the next decade. And one, of course, is to replace the quite heavy glass bottles, either through lighter bottles or even through bottles that are not made of glass. For example, you can use a bag-in-box, you can use cans, or you can use PET bottles. It's still plastic, but a huge part of it is recycled plastic. It's a prototype that has been produced through a company called Alpla in Germany. And the first, Let me check. 750 milliliters and 1 liter bottles are in the market right now. They're sold in Austria. I would try to get one of those bottles because to me, this is really interesting just to get a feeling on what my feelings are. Let's put it like this. What my feelings are when I hold the bottle. Is it just like this water bottle I have in my hand? And is it a weird feeling or not? And I mean, especially Germany is quite known for a very romantic view on the wine market and also a very scientific view. And this combination sometimes might be a bit weird, but I guess it would be easier to introduce such a bottle in the German market compared to Italy or France because they're way more traditional than us. And then there is also other markets such as the US or the UK who are way more, let's say, enjoyment driven, where people just want to drink stuff they like. And this is where bag-in-box, where plastic bottles, where cans are way more successful and way more used. And if we get this romantic thoughts of wine out of our head, we might be also available to enjoy a good wine out of a can, out of a plastic bottle. Of course, there's other things that have to be considered. It's, of course, not a wine to be stored over there, neither in plastic nor in a can, due to the fact that the material is not suitable for cellar aging. Nevertheless, this is definitely a good case to have a more positive impact on our footprint, especially in the wine industry, and of course also to save CO2, not only during production, but also during the transport of everything. Talking about bottles, right now it's getting funny. Pint-sized bottles are a Brexit benefit fantasy. This is the title of the article that I found on Drinks Business, and there was an article, I had to look for it because it's been some time I read. Brits will be able to buy pint-sized bottles of wine after the latest Brexit review. What is behind that? England has been a part of the European Union until Brexit. So they left and there is, I guess, 99% of bad stuff going on and there's very, very few good things. And one thing that is to be considered by some people, that they don't have to follow European laws, European wine laws, for example, especially in our sector. So they are able to plant more wines, they can just grow their vineyard areas, the area under vine, and they don't have to follow the specific rules saying you have to bottle in 750 milliliters or 375 milliliters, for example. And the pint size is quite a big thing in the UK. So the UK said, oh, thank Brexit, right now we are allowed to use our pint size for wine bottles. Sounds stupid, doesn't it? I mean, what is the pint? Just to give you a brief overview, I'm not a fan of Wikipedia articles, but in that case, it's quite easy accessible, and I guess it has been reviewed over by 2,000 people, I don't know, but I guess it's quite fine to use this article in that specific case. The pint in, let's say, the world outside of the UK is 568 milliliters. It's an eighth of a gallon, and it's the usual size for example, a beer glass. And the pint glass, that is the difference to, I would say, most of the glasses we know from gastronomy. Usually you have a glass, and when you say the content has to be 250 milliliters or 125 milliliters, you have a line stating when you fill it up until over here, this is 125, 250 milliliters. And especially in Germany, there's very, very strict laws on how to serve wines by the glass. The wine glasses have to have this line saying this is 250 milliliters, for example. So in the UK, they have 568, but there is no line because pint means the whole glass is the size of 568. So when you fill it bottom up, then it's 568. And right now they turn this volume into a bottle. So right now you will be able to buy wine bottles with 568 milliliters in it. And I guess there will be some space for air, so probably 600 milliliters in total. And this is, I would say, they try to put their mindset of traditional UK drinking experience and thinking into the wine sector and saying, hey, right now your favorite pint beer size is available in the wine industry. And this is stupid in so many ways. I mean, nobody sells pint-sized bottles. So it's an extra production. It's expensive. It's a size that only few people know, especially in the UK. The UK market has a very long history, a very traditional history on wine, and the UK especially is responsible for the growth of so many big wine regions, for example, Bordeaux. And they are all related to the 750 milliliter standard bottle everywhere on the fucking planet. And then, of course, the half size. Nevertheless, the UK says, okay, let's stick to tradition. We take the 568 and we introduce it to the wine market. I mean, I don't think it will work, but they should try it. There is an interesting article written by Robert Joseph, a rational argument for the half wine liter bottle. And I guess he was a bit inspired by Raffiney. We talked about that in the last episode. They introduced a 500 milliliters bottle to the market. I would say this is more convenient because half a liter is available in other businesses, maybe not in wine, but I don't know, olive oil or whatever. And I guess if you ask a if you ask a glass production company, can you provide, I don't know, 500,000 bottles in 500 milliliters? They would say, I think so, yes. If you're not very, I don't know, focused on the shape of a traditional wine bottle, I guess it could work. But at least you need a bigger amount of bottles to order stuff like that, or it's getting very, very expensive. But the half-liter bottle, according to Robert Joseph, who talked to Laura Catena from Argentina, is a more scientific background. And the scientific background shows, or bases on a study that showed that when a couple drinks wine together, so a man and a woman, usually, they drink up to 60% of the bottle, so around 500 milliliters, and then they have to keep it or throw it away. If two women do that, it's just 40, and if two men do that, it's around 80%. But there is always wine in the bottle left. You either have to keep for the next day or to just throw it away. Because following the, let's say, recommendations of wine in moderation, the WHO, and all the other guys who say, think about moderate drinking, you should take a couple of days off drinking. So, I don't know, you drink a bottle of wine with your friend, with your partner, with your colleague, and then 5 days later, you might be able to have another drink and just stay healthy. There's so many studies around that. I won't dive deeper into that. But what I wanted to say is, she says if we would have 500 milliliter bottles, it would be the perfect size for a couple to share. And this might be a use case. And I mean, it's standardized. It's more standardized on the planet. And if there won't be the tradition on putting wine into 750 milliliter bottles, we might change it to a liter or 500 milliliters, but it's so deeply rooted in our culture, so is wine, that it will be quite difficult to change that. We will see what will happen with 500 milliliters and especially pint-sized wine. What I definitely can say is, if I will ever spot a bottle in a pint-sized, a wine in a pint-sized bottle, I will buy it just because of the shape of the bottle. And I will keep you updated, of course. Another very, very funny thing this week, and this is something I have been talking about with some friends in the past. New Zealand Wine has started a campaign to push the introduction of a white wine glass emoji. And if you're not familiar with that, just check your emoji list on WhatsApp or whatever, wherever you use emojis. There is a red wine glass. There's a popping champagne bottle, and there's a cocktail glass. And that's it. And there is red grapes. There is no white grapes. There is no white wine glass, nothing. So if you are a wine lover and you are more into the white stuff, no chance to express that with an emoji. And this article says, and this is also, I would say, the storytelling that New Zealand Wine built. We love to talk stories. We love to tell stories through emojis. And if we are wine lovers, and I mean, New Zealand is way more focused on white than red wine. They became famous with their Sauvignon Blanc, exporting it to the whole world and bringing Sauvignon Blanc to another level and showing people that there is quality in whites, there is aging potential in whites, and you can put quality in bottles and use a screw cap. But this is another story. They want to have the white wine emoji. And the question right now is, of course, is it a good idea to introduce that? Who will benefit from that and who will suffer? And I guess nobody would suffer if we will introduce that. Some people won't feel included if they won't be able to use it, but I guess the world won't care. Some people will discuss on, oh yeah, we could use this and that. But I mean, if you want to talk about wine, use the red wine emoji. I mean, it's getting way more difficult, and the idea behind introducing a white wine emoji is quite easy. On the one hand, institutions such as New Zealand Wine can use it for marketing, for storytelling, and of course, for getting more reach, more visibility on the planet. This is one thing. The other thing is that you might be able to express yourself as a person in a more specific way. And since we have introduced emojis where the color of the skin changes, I mean, it's technically possible, but it's bringing more complexity to the IT standard behind it, of course, to the development in every application that uses it, and also in life. And my question would be, do we need, I mean, I love wine. Wine is a highly sophisticated product, a very well developed, probably the farthest developed product in agriculture on the planet. But do we need an emoji with a white wine glass and a red wine glass? Or is it just enough to have the red wine glass? I don't know. Interesting article, I put it in the show notes, is the philosophical case against the white wine emoji. And guess what? This article is 5 years old. Quite funny to read, and it also puts it on point to say we won't need it, because if we would introduce that, we have to change the color of chocolate into white because there's white chocolate. We have to change the color of the coffee emoji to latte macchiato. We have to change the color of the whiskey glass to gin, basil smash, whatever. So let's keep it simple in this specific case, my personal opinion. Really interesting topic from the US, but it might be also a thing in Central Europe. I mean, Germany just recently changed their law on the weed consumption and the weed availability in public. The US is thinking about a reclassification of marijuana as a drug. There are several layers on where to put specific drugs. So, for example, the highest layer, it's called Schedule 1, is for drugs that have no medical value and no safe use. For example, cocaine is in there, heroin is in there as well. To schedule number 3, alongside potentially dangerous but useful drug, including ketamine and steroids. So it is still a drug, you can get addicted, but there is some specific use coming along with that. And what is happening in the US wine market right now? Everybody's starting to scream because they are afraid what this could do to wine. And it's not only about this classification, they are already talking about kind of a terroir heritage thinking classification with Marijuhana. And I mean, we will see that with coffee in the next couple of years, I would say. We will see that with other products because people are getting more and more into this enjoyment and high class, fine dining thing. And also this comes along with health. But when we talk about enjoyment, terroir is a thing. Nevertheless, the US industry, the wine industry is afraid because they think people will run away from wine to marijuana. There is no case that is currently showing that. What we see is that the people that used to consume beer, especially craft beer, tend to smoke more weed. So it's closer related to do both. And we see this as well in the consumption of red wine. But this doesn't mean that people who tend to smoke a joint every now and then drink less red wine. No, it's more the combination of everything. But people are more and more afraid, and we have also heard this in Germany quite a few times. If this is publicly available and it's allowed to consume it in public, it's also getting part of social gatherings, of festivals, of events. And I mean, I guess if I would host a Bordeaux tasting here, nobody would think, oh, I will go outside and smoke a blunt. But if you think about festivals, about a wine fest, for example, such as the one that happened the last 2 days, it might be a thing. But people won't get away from wine. It will be more a combination of both of it. The only thing, the only segment that is seeing a reduction, it's quite funny, is sparkling wine. When people tend to drink sparkling wine in very, very specific moments, occasions, they tend to drink less when Marijuhana is available. So champagne is replaced by Marijuhana. Isn't this also quite funny? We will see what this will bring to the German market, especially. And I have no feeling for that, but I guess, I mean, you've seen it in the US. It got integrated, and there is this relation between beer and the consumption of Marijuana. And I guess this will be quite similar to Germany. And we talked about the fear of the Bavarian government that the Oktoberfest, the family party Oktoberfest, will turn into a drug party. In brackets, what happened the last 20 years when people just went over, got drunk, fell on the floor, and yeah, we will see people smoking weed during Oktoberfest, but they will drink beer anyway. So from the question, will weed steal the show from wine? Let's go to another illegal thing. A Chinese fraudster has been jailed for 5 years because he bottled faked Lafite and Petrus bottles. There was an investigation and they went to his house and they found, I guess, 38 bottles? 33 bottles counterfeited as Petrus, Lafite, or from Pomerol. 33 bottles, 5 years. This is quite tough when you compare it to the biggest fraudster on the planet, Rudy Kuniawan. He was sentenced to, I guess, 10 years and was released after 7 years. Right now he's doing his tastings again, and I guess he's quite famous. He became kind of a fraudster celebrity, and this Chinese guy has been sentenced to go 5 years to jail for 33 bottles. And I mean, this is a sign, of course, also to the public in general. Fraud is a bad thing. Don't do this. And if we get you, you will be sent to prison. So basically, this is a good thing. But I mean, the relation compared to maybe other cases is not given, especially in wine industry. But to me, 5 years, totally fine. And I guess there's so many counterfeit bottles on the planet available, and I guess some people even won't get it if they would drink the wine in the bottle. I don't know how to make the transition from a Chinese fraudster to Kiefer Sutherland, but I would just say Kiefer Sutherland launches a Canadian whiskey in the UK. Oh, there's a good transition. Maybe some people might think this is criminal. You have the UK, you have the, let's say, very traditional Scotch Islay market. I mean, they invented whiskey. And then there is this UK guy who thinks, hey, come on, let's put a Canadian whiskey to the UK market. Kiefer Sutherland says, I'm born in England. I was born in England. And to me, this is a perfect fit. And I love Canadian whiskey, and I will definitely put it on the shelves in England. He says, it's a good idea. I was born in England. I know the British people, and some might be interested in Canadian whiskey. If you see it on the shelf, it's not branded with his face, but Red Barn is a brand where he is part of. It's said to be a quality product. It has 40% of alcohol, and it will be available on the shelves for £49. So this is probably 55 to 60 euro, $65. For a quality product, sounds fair, affordable. I won't put it affordable, but I mean, if you are interested in whiskey and probably a fan of Kiefer Sutherland, you might go for this product as well. I mean, it's another celebrity bringing his spirit to the market. I recently had a chat with a friend. Let's say you're a sportsman, woman, or an actor, actress. What do you do after you have ended your career? You are 40 to 60, you don't have to work anymore. So you go to your passion. And if your passion is wine, if your passion is whiskey, if your passion is gin, why don't go for that? I mean, if you love the product and you are interested in the product and it's not just putting your face on it to do more sales, why not publishing? Why not introducing your product to the market? I would do the same. I'm not a celebrity, but I would do the same. And it's something you like, it's something you enjoy, and you have the business opportunity. So it's always a good thing. And we have seen so many brands also in Germany and Central Europe where the combination of a good brand and a celebrity works. So I don't know, if you either have a good brand and you know a celebrity, or you're a celebrity and you know a brand you like, do the combination, put it out there, and look at the numbers. I mean, marketing is a thing. And my friend Luca, the guy who belongs to this whole place, keeps on saying wine, of course, is an agricultural product, but in the end, every winery is a marketing company. And he's totally right. You can make the best wine on the planet, and speaking for Kiefer Sutherland, the best whiskey on the planet, if nobody knows it, if nobody is able to taste it and doesn't see it anywhere, people are not talking about it, you won't be able to sell it. So talk about it, do your marketing homework, and then the project can be successful. Last but not least, it's getting warmer. It's May. We talked about climate change, and if we want to end this podcast with a positive news, there was this article in Falstaff, Summer 24, these are the ice cream trends in Europe. And this was a quite interesting article to me because I didn't know that ice cream in general is on the rise. There is 6 to 8% annual growth, depending on the market, for ice cream. And I mean, of course, there has been Corona and we weren't able to enjoy all this kind of stuff, but it gives you this feeling. It's also, again, it's this enjoyment thing, and it's also a product where it's just not vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry, but where you can play around with aromas, with flavor profiles, and also with acidity and sugar. And this is the most interesting thing. The trend is less sugar, more expression in the aroma profile. So you will see, I don't know, strawberry mints or basil, or this quite interesting, quite tasty combinations of fruits and herbs, for example. And the promised or the expected trend for 2024 is raspberry and rosemary. So if you see this, if you spot this in Italy, in Germany, in France, or maybe even in the US, I don't know, Ben and Jerry country, try that. There is also some weird combinations. I just read it. What was it? White chocolate and asparagus. Sounds a bit awkward, but nevertheless, I mean, there's in Munich, there's an ice cream company who does this weird combinations of also of food. So if you are a tourist and you come to Munich and if you want to try, I don't know, sausages with kraut, the sauerkraut, there is an ice cream for that. And I mean, can you imagine heavy, spicy food and it's put aroma-wise in a bowl of ice, and then you just lick it, taste it, and you think, okay, it's refreshing in your mouth, on your tongue, but it tastes like sauerkraut? Try that out. It's the summer ice cream. Summer 2024 is expected to be quite hot. So have your ice cream bowl and enjoy it. Enjoy the weekend. We see you next week on Wednesday, the next episode of Pinot and Pixel. And so long. Ciao, ciao.